Good evening. So, yeah, another interesting day of news, and by interesting, I mean, holy hell. Um, yeah, there's been a fair amount today. I mean, nothing that I can recall was earth-shattering, if you will, that I can recall. There might be something that just not um ringing a bell. I mean, there was quite a bit of news today. Um, but it's been kind of the typical unfortunate reality that we've been living. There was a lot of it, and not much good. So, what I wanted to focus on, though, was this deal with the IRS, and as I fondly call it, the Internal Robbery Service, because hell, that's what it is. Let's just call it what it is. I find it very interesting their new policy that they would like to implement, and I think it's absolutely mind blowing that that it's even gotten as far as what it has. If this gets implemented, oh my goodness, it's not going to be good. Let me explain this. Well, without me explaining it first, let me hang on. Let me go ahead and bring this article up. So that way we all are on the same page here, okay? So let me go ahead and at least read part of this. It says Yellen defends IRS rule requiring banks to report all transactions over $600. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen is defending a Biden administration proposal that would require banks to report data to the Internal Revenue Service on transactions over $600, calling the collection of information routine after taking heat for the idea that is widely seen as an unprecedented invasion of privacy. Okay. Well, first off, transactions over $600. You know how many people's mortgages or even rent payments are over that? How many, there are people that have vehicle payments that are higher than that. So are you telling me that anybody, for the most part, that can afford rent or afford a vehicle is automatically eligible to have their account audited because they might be worried about, somebody hiding their riches? Oh, my goodness. You could pay your bills. You're hiding your riches now. We know it. This is insane. So let me continue. It says during an interview on CNBC Squawk Box on Tuesday, Yellen was pressed on whether the IRS has the wherewithal to collect more information about taxpayers and bank accounts, including cash flows, something many Republicans have called invasive. Well, damn right it's invasive. Well, of course they do, Yellen said. Right now, on every bank account that earns more than, listen to this, on every bank account that earns more than $10 a year in interest, the banks report the interest earned to the IRS. That's part of the information base that includes W-2s and reports on dividends and other income that taxpayers earned, so collection of information is routine. Now, I'm going to look over here. We've got a few people in here. Is if one of those peoples in here is Mr. Engel, or anybody else that could answer would be fine too. If you could just give me a ballpark, because I am not a bank guy, on how much money you would have to have in an account, like a savings account, to accrue $10 in interest. because I thought that was in pretty poor shape at this time. I don't know. I'm not a bank guy. I don't understand a lot. Well, it's not that I don't understand it. I think it's a bunch of BS. I think it's nothing but Ponzi scheme after Ponzi scheme. I don't get involved with it. But I'm not sure what $10 a year in interest, how much you would have to have. However, there's a big difference in being able to pay your rent payment, your mortgage payment, or your car payment, and having enough money just sitting there idle in your bank account to draw $10 on it in a year's time. So this is ridiculous. Any which way you slice this pie, it's ridiculous, the comparison that's being made here between the two. So anyway, let me say, Yellen cited the enormous tax gap in the U.S. as reason behind the proposed tax hikes and information collecting, blaming the gap on places where information on income can be hidden. Let's see, it's just a few pieces of information about individual bank accounts, nothing at the transactions level that would violate privacy, the secretary said. No. Well, there wouldn't need to be, because as soon as you got pinged and decided you wanted to check on something, right, then, that would be when their actual privacy got violated. But you need that red flag first. So that you register, before you confiscate. Same kind of idea here. You come up with your way to detect how fast they're going, so to speak. This is crazy. Continuing on, it says the collected information would ostensibly, I never could say that easy, help the Treasury Department determine which high-income wealthy individuals may be concealing transactions and income, and these would be helpful indicators of where it would make sense for auditing to occur, she added. No kidding. Except the problem is you're probably including, I would say anywhere between 80 and 90% of the population that on a regular basis have more than a $600 transaction. I would say every month, and that's all they're wanting. They're just wanting that 600. Here, let me shut up and continue on just for a second. So it's not reporting of individual transactions or anything of the like, and it would be a simple thing for banks and other payment providers to provide, along with the other information they're already providing. Under the proposal, banks would be required to turn over aggregate inflow and outflow numbers annually to the IRS that would cover bank accounts with at least $600 or at least $600 worth of transactions, according to the Wall Street Journal. Wait a minute. Wouldn't this be like every bank account? Again, I am not a banking person. So anybody, whether it be later on after they watch the recording of this or anybody live, isn't it saying that if you spend $600 worth of transactions in the bank account annually in the year? The proposal has been slammed by Republicans as an invasion of privacy. Last week, Senator Cynthia Lummis, Republican of Wyoming, slammed the Treasury Secretary during a Senate Banking, Housing, and Urban Development Committee hearing, asking if she was aware of how unnecessary this regulatory burden is. Do you distrust the American people so much that you need to know when they bought a couch or a cow? A Republican senator asked. There are obvious privacy concerns for all Americans here, and this represents a dramatic new regulatory burden pardon me, for community banks and credit unions in Wyoming and elsewhere, Loomis added. I mean, this is absolutely mind-blowing. And man, now let's see. I'm not sure which one said this. Bank customers are not subjects to the federal government. Banks do not work for the IRS. That must have been this lady here that said that, Loomis. This is ridiculous. And what it is, and I've talked about this before, this isn't the first I've said this. This is to get the people that have figured out the side hustles. Okay? This is the people that, they were off of work due to COVID. And I mean, there's a lot of people in this situation. See, it's the group of people that nobody's talking about. It really truly is. And it's a large group of people. And it's individuals that were put out of work, okay? And many of those individuals absolutely were collecting unemployment. But on the side of collecting unemployment, they had a side hustle going, right? And so when that unemployment ended, and I'm not talking all of them, I am talking many people, not even near all of them, probably not even quite half of them. But if you think about the amount of people, the volume of people that I'm talking about, even if you take 30% of them, that's a fair amount of people. And if they started side hustles on their own and making enough money, they're not going to go to work. They're not going to go back to work for somebody else when they're doing better on their own. And by better, I mean in however way they see better, happier, more wealthy, whatever the case may be, because, better is different for all of us. But I am just amazed that nobody really talks about that group of people, and I think it is a rather significant 30%. I mean, and no, I can't show you that number anywhere, but I would say that's a pretty damn good, Man, there are a lot of people that went into a lot of different stuff. There are a lot of guys that went into lawn care and stuff like that. A lot of the ladies went into things like sign making and T-shirt making and stuff like that. There are a lot of little startups that were created when people were put out of work because of COVID. And so that is truly, in my opinion, who they're targeting. I think they're targeting those people that are able to make it, not only on their own, but also under the radar. Okay? Now, a lot of these people probably aren't making enough money to really, be a full-fledged business. Let's be real. But the current way that the IRS is set up with the current numbers, you had to have a significant amount more. I think it was $20,000, if I'm not mistaken. That's quite the different number, than than $600. And so that's essentially what they're doing. They're trying to find those people that are actually getting money that the government doesn't know about, and they don't care how they're doing it. They don't care about how they're doing it. It's going to be interesting. Let me go ahead and let me have a sip of coffee. All right, let me continue on. Yellen defended the plan, telling the senator banks already report directly to the IRS the interest that they pay on accounts when it exceeds $10, and this is not a proposal to provide detailed transaction-level data by banks to the IRS. $600 threshold is not usually where you're going to find the massive amount of tax revenue you think Americans are cheating you out of, Loomis fired back. That's correct, Yellen admitted, but it's important to have comprehensive information so that individuals can't game the system and have multiple accounts. Really? I mean, could you imagine? Okay, the wealthy, you got to understand, they're claiming to be going after the wealthy. Gotcha. Gotcha. It's not the wealthy that's going to be able to hide money by having multiple accounts that they could be depositing $600 a piece in. Okay, I mean, you hear how absurd that sounds. How many accounts would you have to be able to sneak in $10,000? Kind of ridiculous, ain't it? Anyway, let me let me continue. Several states have also expressed concern over the proposal, including Nebraska, which slammed the information collection as a violation of Americans' constitutional right to privacy, and has said the costs associated with banks, credit companies, and other financial institutions complying with the requirement would be passed on to consumers. This could lead to a tremendous invasion of privacy, in the likes of which our country has never seen. Millions of law-abiding Americans would suddenly have their bank accounts open to federal investigators for no more reason than buying a refrigerator. This is simply unconscionable. To make matters worse, under this proposal, saving for college could put an American family on the IRS radar, costs that most likely will be passed on to the public, Nebraska State Treasurer John Morante said in a statement released last month. So, and I didn't even think of aspects like that. I mean, God forbid you actually do have the ability to save back a little bit of money. I mean, wow. And if you, man, I'll tell you what, if you're going to show that you care for your children that much, that you might put back for their college, you might be a terrorist or something. They might need to keep a closer eye on you. Man, I am telling you. And the reason why I made that comment, by the way, just to clarify, is because apparently they're now calling some parents, or insinuating that some parents that are against mandates are domestic terrorists. And I'm not sure, I haven't read the direct story on that. I haven't dug into that, but I've heard word of that. I'm sure you've all probably heard well about it. I don't go jumping on, my eyes on... I'm trying not, I'll just put it this way. I'm trying not to be distracted with bread and circuses. All right, and there's a whole lot of bread and circuses going on, and I'm trying to keep my eyes right in the coals of that fire, and not be distracted by any of the flames or the sparks or anything like that. Because, let me bring up kind of something else. This was actually a delay. I didn't even know about it last night because I didn't watch the show last night. So, my highlight of my morning was when I watched Cast Castle, and saw that Luke had showed up, and so Luke was actually on Tim's show last night and obviously tonight, and so anyway, I'll tell you what, that makes for the best content. It really truly does. Tim and Luke are incredible together, and so I guess it was last night. Tim was talking, and he said the way it went down, essentially, and I'm kind of paraphrasing here, is that Luke contacted Tim and said, it's been a minute since I've been there. Tim's like, yep. And he's like, it's something to the effect of it's about time, right? And Tim's like, yeah. And he said, I need to come down there, and more or less it's time to get serious. It's time to put as much as we can muster back at this, and it's actually a very sobering thing, because I'll tell you what, I've got a high level of respect for them too, and them two have both actually been in the trenches. I mean, they've actually been in the trenches, and I don't mean militarily. I mean almost militarily in some of the places they've been. But as journalists, as true on the ground, boots on the ground journalists in the thick of it, and so anyway, they put in their time, and for them to have this level of concern in itself is telling, because they're very level-headed individuals, both of them are. And this is one of the things I look for, when I'm kind of trying to gauge what's going on, is I look for the individuals not to just react to every little thing. I mean, whatever. Those are drama queens. I look for the individuals that are level-headed or calm. Those are the people that if you see them start running for the hills, you might want to run for the hills. And so that's the people that I would rather have as influences to me. I'm very particular about my influences. I don't want a bunch of negative influence all the time, or any type of it's just hard to explain. The mind the mind will take repetitive things, and it will just, you could brainwash people very easily with repetition. And in fact, it's actively being done to people right now. I'm sure you can think of a few ways. So you can actually brainwash people with repetition. Man, I'm telling you, we're not in a good situation. We're not in a good time. We're not on solid footing. And I know I sound like a broken record to continually say, get ready, get ready. I mean it. See, here's the thing. We can do whatever we want. We can raise all the hell we want and all of that. And in the end, it really doesn't matter. It truly doesn't matter, because they're going to do what they want, and they always have. That's nothing new. And we're going to have to accept and understand that this is going to come to a point in time to where the only thing that's going to stop it, or have a chance of stopping it, is us actually saying no. And I mean, with the intent to follow through with whatever it takes to mean no. And that's not a good situation to be in. And I find ourselves getting put in that situation more and more as time goes by. And I mean a short amount of time. This is escalating very quickly. Here's the other thing. We just don't in any way have a chance at a fair shot. I mean, they own all the casinos, so to speak. We don't even have a chance. We don't have a fair opportunity to fight this system. There's a story that I wanted to show you coming out of Wales, and it's kind of, let's say, par for the course. And I want you to see how even in other places of the world, these governments are doing anything they can to cheat to be able to get this stuff passed through that they want passed through. So let me bring this up. This was just came out on RT not long ago. Wales lawmakers ignore Zoom glitch to force vote on COVID-19 pass mandate, steamroll united opposition. So check this out. In a controversial 28-27 vote, the Welsh Synod approved the proposal to require COVID-19 passes to enter nightclubs and large venues, ignoring a Tory lawmaker who said he was trying to vote remotely but could not. Okay, he was trying to vote and it wouldn't let him. And I'm pretty sure that they would have a count of who voted and who didn't, and they would know that he didn't have a chance to vote. Anyway, it says the Synod in Cardiff is currently operating on a hybrid model with half the lawmakers physically present and the others joining virtually. On Tuesday, the ruling Labour held a vote on the COVID-19 pass proposed by the First Minister Mark Drakeford and prevailed despite the united opposition of Conservatives, Liberal Democrats, and Plaid Cymru. I don't know if I said that right. Says Tory MS Darren Miller tried telling presiding officer Ellen Jones ahead of the vote that one of their members was desperately trying to get into Zoom, but she cut him off. No, Darren Miller. We're holding the vote, said Jones, reportedly adding that Synod had made every opportunity possible for that named member to get in, including sharing her personal phone. The Conservatives said technical difficulties prevented, I don't know what the MS stands for, Gareth Davies of the Vale of Clwyd from voting. Okay. Davies had signaled his opposition. I'm sorry, I'm not from them areas, so all that stuff's confusing to me. So, signaled his opposition to the measure earlier in the day on social media, saying he won't subject his constituents to a second winter of misery and despair when we've had the best vaccine rollout in the world. Had there been a tie, Jones was expected to withdraw from the proposal or back further debate. Labour, which is the largest bloc in the Synod, also agreed their MS Buffy Williams of Rhondda would abstain from the vote because the Conservative Synod leader, Andrew R.T. Davies, was absent due to illness. Following the vote, a group of protesters gathered outside the Synod chanting, "Shame on you" at lawmakers. I'm not going to continue reading the rest of it, but you get the point. They're playing games. They're playing games to be able to get what they need to pass what they want. And I know I know this stuff is nothing new, but this is on an entirely different level than what we'd really seen before. And this is just so out front and in the open and in everybody's face of what they're doing. And this is Wales. They're doing this all over the planet right now. So many different nations right at the very same time. This is ridiculous. And that's why I'm saying, this is a global move. This isn't nations, and we can't get too stuck in just the thought process that this is just an individual nation thing. Like us in the U.S., we can't forget that we're not going through this alone. Most nations on this planet are going through this at the very same time. We got to keep that in mind. Because it's important that we don't make mistakes on who we choose to follow. And I think I see a lot of that happening unintentionally, but I just think that the lies and the brainwashing works so well, maybe a bit of the fluoride as well, that people don't see it. Right? And I'm talking about all people that support big corporations in any way and think that big corporations should be able to do crazy things in order to profit. Whether you be from the left and think that big corporations should be able to push for things like mandates so that they can profit heavily off of products they produce, or whether you're from the right side of the aisle and you think that, big oil should be propped up to the never-ending world and beyond, just because you were brainwashed to think that. And I'm sorry, but that's just the truth of the matter. I'm not saying that we have a really good, viable technology right this very second. Actually, we do. We got plenty of them, but the public just don't have access to them. Yeah, that's kind of a thing. We got to have the access to the stuff. We have to actually be allowed to have it, to use it. You know how many different types of batteries and all that the different types of technologies that have been handed over, right? Because they were given a nice fat check, so they handed over the basically the rights, and they no longer have the rights to that, to be able to patent it, to be able to produce it, or anything like that. However, battery technologies that would make anything that we currently know of look silly, unless you happen to know about the technologies they've been working on, like graphene and stuff like that. But again, all this stuff, would be easily available to us. Many of these different types of battery technologies don't even use things that have to be mined in horrible, horrible ways like the lithium. And they also don't use, they don't use elements that have very, very harsh chemical reactions like, say, lithium ion or lithium polymer. There are chem-safe batteries that do a hell of a lot better than ion and lithium polymer. There's entire different types of batteries that work so much better, but we're not allowed to have them. Why? Well, because for some reason, there's not enough people out there in society to push for the release of these technologies, because there's too many people fighting the release of these technologies, because the oil workers need to keep their jobs. There's one thing for certain. The best way to fail is by not moving forward. The best way to fail is by not moving forward. If you stand stagnant, you're going to fail. You're not going to get any further anyway, and I consider that kind of failure. You have to keep moving forward. And sometimes that means you have to even start completely over. And that's one point that we're standing right now in the energy industry, is that we kind of need to reinvent. Well, we don't have to reinvent the wheel, because the technologies and everything are already there right now. Ain't got to reinvent nothing. We just got to use it. We just got to allow the technology to be freed up. That's it. That's all. It's insane. But people hear it over and over and over. It's that repetitive thing that, just because you hear something a bunch doesn't make it true. Remember that. Let's see. So, anyway, I wanted to talk about that as well. Didn't really intend to get off on another rant, but it happened. Really, that's all I know to say. I mean, we're just... we definitely need to speak up. We need to speak up. We need to speak out. We need to be loud. We need to say no. We need to say it in a convincing enough way that that's where it ends. I don't know if that's even a possibility, though. But hey, why not give it a shot? It's better than sitting there and not saying nothing and let them just roll right over you. I think if we could get a hell of a lot more people to actually get vocal, then it might have a little bit of a shock and awe effect on those that would like to do whatever they want with us. Anyway, let me go ahead and I'll just get the headlines out of the way. We'll call it a Tuesday. I got to get trash out. Fun times. Yikes, neck hurts. All right. Get that brought back up. Do some headlines and get the heck out of here for the night. All right. From this morning, the first thing was Facebook blames faulty configuration change for massive outage amid calls to break up the tech giant. Yeah, no kidding. But I still think that they weren't the ones. I think they got. I think they got. I don't know that it was internal. I mean, it could have been, but I mean, it most certainly could have been done internally. I mean, it would be hard to know if Facebook was a human being. It would be hard to know exactly who it was that stabbed you in the back. Really hard to know. Let's see. Protesters gather in New York City to denounce vaccine mandates for education workers and layoffs for non-compliant teachers. Texas board votes to recommend posthumous pardon for George Floyd over 2004 drug conviction. Global trade to recover faster than expected from COVID crisis, says the World Trade Organization. I mean, here's the crazy thing. We keep hearing back and forth from these different organizations. So, which one is it? And why is all the container ships sitting and really? I mean, stuff's not adding up. Nothing that anybody's saying is really adding up. Bolivian police retreat after cocoa leaf farmers storm market in La Paz. Russian communist leader warns Putin that police brutality and controversial online voting are a bomb waiting to blow up society. Climate activists have gone too far by blocking key London roads, says British policing minister. I don't know how they would say it over there. Probably policing. European gas prices push higher as winter season approaches. Brits irked as BBC reports on accusation Met officer caused the death of an assailant during a moped chase. Well, kinda. I mean, why was he chasing him on the moped? Was it a serious crime? Because if it wasn't a serious crime, dude, don't chase a moped or a motorcycle or something like that. Stop. I mean, I get there's a lot of people that think that, comply or die mentality, but I don't roll like that. When somebody's life is in danger and it's over something stupid or minor, right? Let's say that he didn't have a tag on the moped, right? That's hardly a felony. That's hardly a serious criminal. Let's just say you don't have registration on the moped. Doesn't have to be stolen. Let's just say it's expired. Right? And the guy runs. Man, and it happens. Stuff like that happens. It's not that uncommon. We have to get real with this stuff. It's time we stop allowing people to be killed by government employees. Let's not play games with words. Heroes. First response, no. Government employees. Because that's what the Nazi SS were, correct? Weren't they government employees that killed people? Sometimes for very stupid things. Yeah. And it escalated, by the way. It didn't just start out with just... It stuns me how so many folks don't see, and I know I'm speaking to the choir here, but so many other folks don't see what is going on. They just don't see it. And it's concerning. Truly is. Sorry, got on another rant. Let's see. Veil of silence led up to 330,000 children be abused by clergy and lay members within France's Catholic Church since the 1950s. Absolutely insane. And my the $1 million question is, the $1 billion, $1 trillion question is, what's going to happen? Anything? Because I'm still yet to see anything really happen. I've seen churches admit it, but that's really about it. After multiple delays, Russia's space agency finally announces much anticipated Luna 25 moon mission will launch in July 2022. Sections of London Underground closed and shops flooded after heavy downpour in UK capital. A Chinese real estate crisis deepens as another developer misses payment deadline. These are becoming serious issues as well. China ridicules new report claiming Wuhan COVID outbreak started earlier than reported. Not so bountiful. Chocolate bar to become latest casualty of supply chain chaos as Russian maker reportedly warns of shortages. And apparently, even though you don't readily recognize that name, you will know the company. It is the Mars Candy Company. So that is part of the Mars Candy Company. So heads up, candy fans. Let's see. If France is such a good ally, why not give the Aussie submarine deal back to Paris? Chinese state media trolls the U.S. State Department. Let's see. UK PM rejects claim Britain is set for a 1970s-style inflationary spiral amid labor shortages and supply chain crisis. Western diplomats need to go back to science class if they believe in Syrian chemical weapons claims, a Russian UN envoy says. And yeah, I've got to agree with you, dude. And we can take those comments all the way back to the 90s. And I've showed it here. I don't know how many times. I know people have got. I'm not going to show it because I'll probably get nailed with copyright. But there, you can go look, and I'm sure they're still on YouTube and many other places. Back from the 90s with Saddam Hussein and supposedly him, bombing and gassing all kinds of. But you can go back, and there's actually videos where you can tell it's all as fake as it gets. Like there's one where there's two reporters, and one's got a helmet, and the other one's, it's my favorite. One's got a helmet, and the other one's got a gas mask. Right, and you would, if you were going to be protected, each person would have both. but you could tell. I mean, you could tell, and I think it came out that they were in front of a green screen. And it's just absolutely insane, the lies that we have been sold, and this is, when it comes to the lies in warfare, this is a lot of it. A lot of these attacks that they say happen by these certain individuals, and sometimes the attacks didn't even really happen. Sometimes it was absolutely nothing at all. Sometimes it would be a little bit something different. And other times they would have, proxies, essentially. Who is it? They were supposed to be the humanitarian ones, the white helmets. Man, I'm telling you, the white helmets were responsible for a lot of those attacks. I guarantee it. They were responsible for a lot of those attacks. Guarantee it. But anyway, I digress. Let me continue on. Sorry. Let's see. Boris Johnson's Build Back Butter Toast video makes Britons cringe. Johnson & Johnson applies to U.S. regulator for booster shot approval amid efficacy concerns over single jab COVID vaccine. 6 in 10 patients with red flag cancer signs in England not being referred to specialists fast enough, says a study. Cuban-Iranian pro-Covax jab added to the Tehran's vaccine arsenal after approval for kids. France threatens to cut power to UK's Channel Islands and row over fishing licenses. So France is literally threatening to cut the power. It's insane. And I want you to remember that, because I don't want you to be too surprised if your government wants to cut your power. Because you won't listen. Or because maybe you want to be able to make money. Or because you might want to do things like eat. Watchdogs to regulate the hell out of Bitcoin, which has no real value, says Jamie Dimon. That guy just won't let it go. Let's see. Navalny ally to take Russia to ECHR after Supreme Court agrees he was illegally barred from election but rejects his case anyway. UK Home Secretary announces independent inquiry into systematic failures, or systemic, no, it's systematic, in the police force that led to Sarah Everard's murder. FBI says 2020 homicides up nearly 30%. St. Louis has the nation's highest murder rate. Well, congratulations, St. Louis, on being number one. Well, I mean, your baseball team's kind of sucking as of lately. I mean, might as well, find something to be number one at. Let's see. Russian army to adopt state-of-the-art marksman rifle as part of modernization plans, a weapon developer says. 96-year-old ex-Nazi death camp secretary released pending trial after dramatic attempt to flee before hearing. Rocket-carrying Russian crew behind bid to shoot first-ever feature-length film in space blast off ahead of docking with ISS. Let's see. It's A-OK to bully Democrat villainous Sinema in a restroom, feminist website Jezebel declares, puzzling readers. I mean, all of this, it's just insanity, but I think a lot of it's distraction. I mean, to be real honest, I think it's just to keep people mentally busy while they do whatever the hell they want to do. Let's see. Insulate Britain to offer apology for causing disruption after UK PM Johnson brands eco-warriors irresponsible crusties. A U.S. trade deficit reaches record $73.3 billion amid ongoing spat with China. Women in Iran to be allowed to watch their country's national football team for the first time in 2 years in World Cup qualifier. I guess there was rules in place that the women couldn't watch, they couldn't attend, stuff like that. So, Sweden dishes out international arrest warrant to catch suspect in Gothenburg blast case. Macron hopes tensions between Paris and Algeria are calming after African nation recalled ambassador and barred French military jets. Catastrophic Facebook crash proves time for Russian internet sovereignty has come, Moscow announces after 6-hour network outage. So, and they're talking about, making sure that they've got their own social media networks over there, and that they've got a completely independent internet over there. And, well, I don't think that's a horrible idea at all. I don't think that's horrible at all. In fact, it would be cool if they would kind of redesign what the way it's done, the way it's routed, to make it to be able to be protected a little bit easier. And it could be done. It could be done. But we'll see what happens. I don't know. I don't think I don't think we're gonna have a lot of time to do a whole lot anyway, to be real honest. Taliban arrest 11 ISIS members in Kabul after explosion outside mosque. Pegasus creator NSO Group wants to help UN regulate the spyware industry, says reports. 2 MPs from Russia's governing political party to ask country's prosecutor general to investigate over men kissing on national TV. So think about that. Think about that. In Russia, you have a couple of their MPs that are wanting the prosecutor general to investigate a complaint of men kissing on TV. Kind of insane, is it not? I think it is. I mean, in comparison, look at the agenda you have all the other countries pushing. Let's see. Sarah Silverman ridiculed for protesting against Jewface in Hollywood despite previously wearing blackface. Okay. Cairo, weeks away from finalizing deal to supply gas to Lebanon, minister says, as Beirut's energy crisis rolls on. Gender pay gap results from women choosing wrong degrees heavily criticized, British report claims. I didn't say it. I just read the headline. Vatican